As of recording, the World Cup group stage draw has just happened, so naturally, as I promised yesterday, I'm going to go straight in with my way too early, let's be honest, World Cup predictions. I'm just going to go right into it because there is a hell of a lot to cover. As I promised yesterday, I'm going to do my best to talk about all of the teams. I think I have a relatively good understanding of teams outside of just Europe and South America, so in order to not make this 3 hours, I'm going to go as rapid fire as I possibly can. No promises, though. All right, Group A. So we have Mexico, South Africa, South Korea, and the UEFA intercontinental, or not intercontinental, but playoff D spot. The teams, by the way, in contention for this are Denmark, North Macedonia, Czechia, and Ireland. And obviously, I'm going to have to make some assumptions here because there are 6 spots still open. But I think it's pretty cut and dry that at least the favorite to win this spot has to be Denmark. They have a very solid midfield team, high octane pressing. They will easily dominate, I think, in my opinion at least, any of those other 3 teams that they have to play. So I'm going to say Mexico, South Africa, South Korea, Denmark is Group A. Um, I would say Denmark pretty easily can top this group. They are they have the most talent of any of these squads. They have a strong press, which I think can break down Mexico. Um, South Korea, they have some good players. I don't think they're at that level, and South Africa, I just don't see how they can compete with Denmark. Mexico's biggest advantage for this group, I would say, they have to rely on their physicality. So we're talking about players like Edson Alvarez, Raul Jimenez, Cesar Montes, like very tough players, and they don't have a lot of chance creation. So I just don't see how they match up well against Denmark. Against South Korea, this is an interesting matchup because Mexico and South Korea did play recently, and I want to say it was a 2-2 draw. So South Korea, very reliant on just a few key players, like basically the people that you've definitely already heard of, the Sung Hyun Mins, the Hwang Hee Chans, the Lee Kang Ins, the Kim Min Jaes. And so I think given that that friendly was a draw, and it wasn't, it was in the USA, now if this match is in Mexico with the home advantage, I think Mexico should be able to get the job done. I think they either win or draw. And then against South Africa, okay, to be fair, very let's say counterattacking high tempo squad. They might get something against Mexico, possibly, but the way I just see it shaking out, let's say hypothetically, Mexico beats South Korea, they draw South Africa. South Africa, that's not enough. I think unless South Africa can beat South Korea, which I don't see happening, that means South Africa is going to finish dead last in this group. And I think South Korea, they could potentially get a point against Mexico, and I think they should be able to beat South Africa. So I'm going to say South Korea finished third, and I think 3 or 4 points should be enough for them to qualify for the round of 32. They're going to be one of the 8 teams I think that qualify. Moving on to Group B, we have Canada, the UEFA A spot, which is Italy, Northern Ireland, Wales, or Bosnia and Herzegovina. We have Qatar, and we have Switzerland. Starting with my team, Canada, there are some issues with this roster right now. We have direct wingers, but we don't really have that many good finishers. It's really just Jonathan David, and there's Promise David as well, but Jesse Marsh hasn't really played him a lot this year, which I find very concerning, and that could be a big issue in terms of the finishing. We do have a decent midfield. Kone, Istakiao, Nico Sugar. I think they're pretty press resistant, so I think we should be fine there. But we are going to be vulnerable in transition and in counters. Richie Laryea has been pretty class. As of recent, he probably is going to be our starting left back. Other players, we have 3 of our 4 starters injured on the defense, so it's kind of hard to evaluate there. But yeah, we have Switzerland, very high pressing, play a high line. I think always underrated during major tournaments. They very consistently always make at least the round of 16, and I see them having no problems here as well. And then for that UEFA A spot, it's tough to say because Ireland have really been on a decline over the past few years. They're really just not that good anymore, but I think they should be able to get the job done. So I'm going to assume it is Italy. And as for Qatar, man, they're just not a good team. They are technically a 2-time Asian Cup winning. They are back-to-back Asian Cup winners, but I do have to admit both of those tournaments were a little bit questionable. I'm just going to leave it at that. So Qatar is going to finish last. I just don't see how they can possibly get a single even draw in this match, in this group. I think as for Canada, I think Italy is going to run us off the pitch because Italy, their main weakness is their defense. And as I was just talking about, Canada have a serious finishing problem, so I don't think we can take advantage of that. Italy will beat us, but But against Switzerland, I think we might be able to get a draw because we have pacey wingers, direct wingers. We're talking about like Ali Ahmed, Jacob Schaffelberg, Alfonso Davies, Tejan Buchanan, and that is a bit of a weaker point for Switzerland. So I think we can get 4 points potentially. That will be enough to qualify for the next round. But I think we don't beat Italy, and I think we're finished third. Between Switzerland and Italy, though, I think Switzerland are much better equipped to handle Italy, especially in terms of bad defense. So I think even though there's a solid chance they draw us, I think they do beat Italy. I think they finished first on 7 points, and Italy finished second on 6. So that's my prediction. All right, Group C. This is Brazil, Morocco, Haiti, and Scotland. Haiti and Scotland have not been at this tournament for a while. They're back now. Brazil obviously have made it every single World Cup, and Morocco coming off in 2022 of a dark horse Cinderella run making to the semifinals. Uh, I think Brazil's consistency as of recent has been pretty questionable. I think ever since the 2022 World Cup, they've been on a downward spiral and haven't really recovered yet. But Carlo Ancelotti is now coming back. They have very strong wingers, Vinny Jr., Rodrigo, Rafinha, Stevie Al. They should have no problems making it out of this group. And Carlo Ancelotti is a manager who has tons of experience facing these big personalities, managing these big personalities. So I think by the time we get to the World Cup, I don't know what the starting lineup is going to be. I don't know what the tackle system is going to be. I think he will have figured something out, and if he does, Brazil are still a favorite. So Brazil is going to finish first for me. Morocco, very strong midfield. Players like Amin Adli, Brahim Diaz, Sovran Amrabat, Al Khanous, shout out to the former Darian. And I think Scotland have a pretty similar system. They're also going to try to play for the midfield, but I think Morocco's midfield is better. So Morocco's going to easily finish second here. And then we have Haiti. Haiti play a very high line, and it ultimately, it got them here. It got them through the World Cup. It got them through CONCACAF qualifiers. But I don't see their ability to adjust and play a low block, and I think that they have to do that if they want to have a chance of surviving. And because I don't see them doing that, I think they lose every game. I think Scotland should still be able to beat them, and I think Scotland is going to get 3 points, get a decent goal differential, because I don't think Scotland and Morocco will be all that high scoring, and I think Scotland are also going to qualify as one of those 8 third-place teams. All right, moving on to Group D, we have the USA, Paraguay, Australia, and the UEFA C spot. So this could be Turkey, Romania, Slovakia, and Kosovo. And this is another one of those opportunities where, I think it's very clear Turkey is the best team of the 4. I'm pretty confident Turkey is going to secure that World Cup spot. So I'm just going to say Turkey, Australia, Paraguay, USA are the 4 teams here. The USA, very offensively minded, fluid football under Pochettino. I think they're vulnerable to good pressing, though, and I think they're also relatively physical. Paraguay, they are a very defensive team, very hard to break down, but also struggle a lot with chance creation. They're very reliant on just Julio and Ciso, and I don't know whether or not that's going to translate in actual World Cup setting. We have Australia. They are everyone knows about Australia. They are they're going to be physical. They're going to play, I don't want to say dirty, but they're going to just try to outmuscle you. They're going to try to scrap points. And the strategy has worked as of recent. So who knows? It could work again. But of the 4 teams, Turkey's going to be first. I'm very confident. Turkey is just clearly better than all of them. They have such a strong midfield that I don't think Australia can do anything about it. Listen, Arda Güler, Kenan Yildiz, Can Uzan. I think even at Paraguay, with their strong defense, I don't think they're going to be able to contain Turkey. So I think Turkey probably finish first, 7 or 9 points. Then we have America will play Paraguay and Australia. The way I see it, the US and Australia are going to be very similarly physical. The US can also play very physical, and because of that, I think that neutralizes Australia's advantage. And I think the US can get it done and win that match. Also against Paraguay, like I said, if Julio Enciso carries, they can do very well here. But I'm not sure that Julio Enciso will do that. So I think there's a very good chance that Paraguay just pick up too many draws. I think they lose to Turkey, and I could definitely see them drawing both the USA and Australia. So I'm going to say USA finishes second place. I think Paraguay finishes third with 2 points. Australia finishes last with 1 point, which that feels a bit suspect to me, because I kind of do expect Australia to do better in a World Cup, but I just can't justify it. However, if Paraguay only scored 2 points, I really think if they do make the knockouts, they can be a dark horse because whenever you play a scrappy defensive team, like you can always secure a 1-0. But if it's only 2 points, I don't think that's enough for them to be one of the third place teams to qualify. So it's a bit of an unlucky draw for Paraguay. I think they're a good team, but I don't think they're going to qualify to the round of 32. All right, moving on to Group E. Germany, Curacao, first time here. Smallest population country to ever make it. So congrats to them. Cote d'Ivoire and Ecuador. Okay, so Ecuador are one of my dark horses. I'm just going to say that right off the bat. They have one of the best defenses and defensive midfields in all of world football right now. We're talking about William Pacho, Pedro Encampié, Purvis Estupiñán, Moises Caicedo, Kendry Paez. Just incredible. In CONMEBOL qualifiers, they conceded just 5 goals in 14 games. And think about all the good teams there are in South America. To only concede 5 goals in 14 games is incredible. And that's actually only half of the second least goals conceded by any team. That was Argentina with 10. Ecuador finished second in South American World Cup qualifying, and they did that despite getting a 3-point deduction. So I really think people are sleeping on this Ecuador side. I think that they could really go far in this World Cup depending on who they draw. Germany, very technical midfield, obviously. Wirtz, Kimmich, Goretzka, Pavlovic. But I think they might struggle against physicality. They have choked in World Cups and honestly tournaments in general recently. So this is going to be spicy. This is going to be spicy, but I think Ecuador either draw or beat Germany. I really do. I think Cote d'Ivoire is really going to struggle to score against Ecuador. Cote d'Ivoire just struggle to score goals in general, to be honest. And Curacao is just not there. So I think with either 7 or 9 points, Ecuador is going to top this group. Now, not doomsday for Germany. They're not going to crash out in the group stage again. I still think they're better than the other two teams here. But like I said, when they face a very physical squad, and Curacao and Cote d'Ivoire are both very physical squads, could they drop points here? If they draw Ecuador, and then they draw one of these two other teams, they're on 5 points, I think they finish second. They'll be safe, but I think that puts Ecuador in a good position. And between Cote d'Ivoire and Curacao, like I alluded to, I think Cote d'Ivoire could easily, through a low block, through physical football, get a result against Curacao and get a result against either Ecuador and Germany. But the thing is, because both Curacao and the Ivory Coast play low blocks, and because Cote d'Ivoire has just had not been that great at scoring recently, there's a chance, I think, Cote d'Ivoire draw Curacao and only get 1 point, or draw Curacao in Germany, or Curacao and Ecuador only get 2 points. And I think if you only get 2 points, that's probably just not going to be enough to qualify. So I'm going to say Ivory Coast finished third, Curacao finished fourth, but Ivory Coast is not going to get enough points to make the round of 32. Alright, next up, Group F. Another interesting group here. The Netherlands, we have Japan, we have UEFA's B spot, so that would be either Ukraine, Sweden, Poland, or Albania, and we have Tunisia. Okay, so I would say I'm honestly very torn here between who qualifies. I think it's either going to be Ukraine or Poland. If it comes to a home, like away difference, I think that's not going to benefit Ukraine because obviously they can't play at home right now. But then again, that's happening in March. Maybe that changes by March. I mean, there's a lot of unknowns here. I would say Ukraine and Poland have both not been extremely convincing to me. They're both pretty, they play relatively slow build-ups. They're fine in the midfield and the offense, but I don't think they can withstand very strong teams all that well. So I think both Netherlands and Japan should be able to beat either one of those teams. So I'm going to say Netherlands and Japan are 1 and 2. Within that, though, I think Japan could struggle against, first off, a high press and just a fast squad. And the Netherlands don't necessarily play that way, but they can. They're very balanced, very strong all around. So there's definitely a world where Japan upsets the Netherlands and tops the group again. I think the more likely outcome is the Netherlands finishes first and Japan finishes second. Again, they have the anime plot armor, I know, to always qualify to the knockouts, but they don't need to finish first to do that, so I think they'll be fine. Tunisia, they are bus park. They are What am I saying? They are bus parkers. They can struggle to break down teams on the front foot, and yeah, I don't know that a Ukraine or a Poland score a ton of points on them. Man, I don't even know which team I'm going to say qualifies. I'll say Ukraine. I'll say Ukraine qualify, but I'm very unconfident about that. I think Ukraine will beat Tunisia. That'll put them on 3 points. I don't think they can beat Japan or the Netherlands. I think that is going to be enough to qualify, though. 3 points, I think that'll be enough because the goal differential is not going to be too bad. Like, for example, I think they'll lose to Japan and the Netherlands, but I don't think they're going to lose either match by a ton of goals. Maybe Japan's like a 2-1 or a 1-0. Netherlands maybe beats them by 2. If they can beat Tunisia by 1 or 2 goals, like a -2, -1 goal difference, I think a lot of teams are going to finish on 3 points in third. I think that's going to be enough. So I'm going to say Ukraine qualified to the round of 32. Or Poland. I think what I'm saying applies to either of those teams. All right, Group G now. This, very interesting. We have Belgium, Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand. Belgium, they should not be a pot one team, man. I don't know how they're still here because they've been so washed. The goal generation is just completely gone now. I guess except De Bruyne. Defensively, they're kind of mid. They have a decent midfield. You know, Amadou Onana, Yuri Tielemans. It's the fucking Aston Villa double pivot. But I don't know about ball progression. They have good wingers, but I don't know about the finishing. And yeah, I think they've gotten a pretty lucky group, so I think they should be fine. But I don't think Belgium are going to go that far in this tournament. We have Egypt. Honestly, they haven't been looking very great recently. I know the AFCON hasn't happened yet, and that could drastically change my opinions on Egypt. But what I will say is Marmoush and Salah have to cook for them. And Marmoush, I think, has not gotten the playing time he would have wanted at Man City so far. And at least at club level, Mo Salah has not been good this year, objectively speaking. Maybe now, I'm not saying that necessarily translates to international level. They could still do very well, but I want to see it in AFCON before I rate this Egypt team. We have Iran. They have an aging backline. I think like all of their starting defenders are like 32 or older. But they do have a strong offense as well, like Mehdi Taremi, Sardar Azmoun. Great physicality, by the way, there. Mohamed Mahabi. But they also have a weak goalkeeper. So, I don't know. I think, oh, by the way, they also have like odd manager situation there. I think the manager's basically lost the dressing room, but again, also we don't know if that's going to sustain itself for the rest of until the World Cup because that was the same thing we were saying about Morocco in 2022. But then last minute they get a new manager and all of a sudden it clicks, right? So I don't want to put too much bankage on that. I think Iran can low key get a draw against Belgium. I really do because Iran have the physicality. Belgium can't deal with that. Belgium are not a very clinical squad. It's very so the defensive issues can be very forgiving for Iran. And I think with the physicality, I could definitely just see like Sardar Azmoun or Mohamed Mahabi or whoever just like scores a set piece goal or something. Now that being said, I think Belgium's still going to finish first in this group, just because even if Iran does get a draw, Belgium is just going to dominate Egypt and New Zealand and stack up goal differential. But I think Iran's going to be fine. Uh, Iran Egypt will be an interesting matchup. Again, I'm not putting a lot of credence into Egypt yet, but that can change very quickly. But for now, I think Iran beats Egypt, and I think this New Zealand squad is just not good. So Egypt should be beating New Zealand regardless. And I think Egypt do qualify on 3 points because they should do fine against Iran. I think Belgium might score a lot of goals against them, but they should also score a lot of goals against New Zealand, to be honest. So I think they'll be fine. So Egypt, another one of those teams that are going to qualify to round 32 for me. Group H, we have Spain, Cabo Verde, Saudi Arabia, and Uruguay. And I have to be honest, Uruguay have not been looking very good for me recently. I have rated Marco Bielsa quite a bit in the past, but man, ever since Copa America, I think it's just not been working. They're not playing up to their level. I mean, they have players like Valverde, Darwin Nunez, Bentancur, Ronald Araujo, but like recently, it's just not been clicking. I think Saudi Arabia and Cabo Verde is a very, very lucky pot 3 and pot 4 team to draw, so I think they'll be fine. But I think Spain is gonna cook them. Their midfield is so much better. They play so cohesively. Spain is gonna easily win this group. Uruguay is gonna easily finish second. Between Saudi Arabia and Cabo Verde, man, this is tough. This is tough. I'm gonna give it to Saudi Arabia. I'll give it to Saudi Arabia just because I don't think Cabo Verde is gonna high press them very much, and I think that's the way you beat Saudi Arabia. And I don't think Cabo Verde is gonna give too much of a defensive threat. So I'm gonna give Saudi Arabia third place here. But I still think there's a good chance they draw Cabo Verde. I think if they do beat Cabo Verde, it's not going to be by a lot of goals. And Uruguay and Spain are going to feast on Saudi Arabia. So I think Saudi Arabia, even though they could get 3 points potentially, the goal differential is going to be so bad for them, I don't think they qualify to the round of 32. All right. Group I now. We have France, Senegal. This is Intercontinental Federation B, so that is going to be either Bolivia, Suriname, or Iraq. Here's what I'll say. I think Bolivia, Suriname is going to be a very interesting matchup. I don't think Suriname are just ready for the big stage yet, to be honest. And Bolivia, the reason they even got here, to be honest, is because they're so good playing at Bolivia. With the 4,000 feet in the mountains, the altitude bonus for them really kicks in. But I think, given that these matches are not going to be played at Bolivia, I don't think they're going to be able to show up. And I'm pretty confident that Iraq is going to end up taking this Interconfederation B spot. Um, that being said, I think Iraq are a good team. They can counterattack you, but they're not ready. They're just not ready. They're going to finish fourth because this is a group of death. I'm just going to be completely honest. France one of the best squads. Norway completely underrated. By far the best pot 3 squad that there is. I mean, you got guys like Odegaard, Holland. This is the deadly squad, man. That is so deadly. Alexander Sorloth. It's going to be really tough. Senegal, also very pacey wingers. Ismail Assar, Ilman Ndiaye, of course Sadio Mane. So all three of these teams I think are going to beat up Iraq. I could see them getting a good game against them. I could see Iraq scoring a few goals. But winning or really getting a result against either of these teams, that's going to be tough. I think France, the biggest issue for me so far, for France, is the goal scoring. Right now, Didier Deschamps, I think, is really struggling between two identities for the squad. And by that I mean, like, there is, like, the Odegaard. You can focus the team around Mbappe. But there have been so many differences to who the best attackers are for France since the last World Cup. Now you have Bradley Barcola, Michael Olise, Ousmane Dembele just won the Ballon d'Or, Desiree Doué. Who is the focal point for the squad? You could just bite the bullet and try to play as many of them as possible. And we did see France experiment with a 4-2-4. But what happens is, when you just have two midfielders, as good as France's squad is, you're going to get overrun by an elite midfield. So I think France is going to figure that out by the World Cup because they always ball out for World Cups under Deschamps. I think even if they don't really figure that out, they should be able to beat Senegal and Norway. But I think that could be an issue later into the tournament. As for Senegal and Norway, I would say just because of the physicality, I don't know how Senegal is going to deal with that. I think Norway does beat Senegal for now. But I think Senegal feasts on Iraq. They will be fine on goal differential, I think. I think they're going to qualify to round of 32 as well. All right, Group J. I need to go fast on this, by the way, because I'm on 22 minutes already, and I'm still in the group stages. Argentina, Algeria, Austria, Jordan. Okay. I mean, once again, Messi gets an easy group at the World Cup, man. I don't know what to tell you. Argentina is going to easily get 9 points here. They are just... Austria, I think, is about as favorable as a pot 2 draw as you can get. Algeria, decent offense, but they're not going to break down Argentina. And Jordan, transition counterattacks are decent, but Argentina's going to apply pressure on them, and they're probably going to fall apart. Against Argentina, at least. So Argentina easily gets all 9 points here. I would say Austria, they have a decent defense. I think they should be able to withstand Algeria. I think they will finish second. And Algeria-Jordan is going to be a very interesting match. I think Jordan, before the draw, I would have said Jordan is actually I think Jordan is one of the most underrated teams coming into this because they have great counterattacking. Their front three is it's like Brentford ball, basically. Just imagine a team that plays super vertical, does not rely on the midfield, just long balls over the top to their front three to just try to chase it. The issue is that works when when the opponent is not very clinical and when you can get a lot of counterattacks. And I just don't see how Algeria is going to let them have that. So I think if Jordan played a different pot 3 team, I think they have a very solid chance of making the round of 32. But if it's Algeria, that's just a bad matchup for them. So I think Algeria is going to finish third. I think Algeria, I'm going to say they qualify because Algeria could sneakily maybe get a draw or even better results against Austria. So I'm going to say Algeria qualify. Jordan, you got unlucky with the draw, man. You really didn't get unlucky. I think there are better pot 3 teams that Jordan just matches up better with, and they could have gone something here. But if it's Algeria, I think it's going to be really tough. Group K, we have Portugal. We have Interconfederation A, which is either New Caledonia, New Caledonia are happy to be here. It's not going to be New Caledonia. Jamaica or DR Congo. So I think it's going to be Jamaica or DR Congo, but I think Jamaica are just such serial chokers. They should have already qualified for the World Cup, but they fumbled the bag to Curacao. In that deciding match where they had to beat Curacao to directly qualify to the World Cup, They hit the post in the second half, I think, at least 3 times. Might have been more. So that tells you what you need to know about the squad. They're going to find a way to choke to DR Congo, and I think DR Congo is going to take that into consideration spot. But I think that's about as far as it can go. Portugal, Colombia, even Uzbekistan is a sneakily good team. They cannot beat any of them. So they're finishing 4th. Uzbekistan, I think there's not enough credit being given to the squad, man, because it's a little surprising to me because people know some of the players on Uzbekistan, like Shamuradov, Vazilev, Kusanov, like center back from Man City. Like there are players on Uzbekistan that are pretty well known, but they're just not rated. And to be fair, I don't see them upsetting Portugal or Colombia. I think Colombia are one of, if not the best Pot 2 team. They are. I don't know if they're underrated enough to be considered a dark horse, but if they are my dark horse. Uh, Colombia is entering the tournament. At least as of now, things could change over the next few months. But as of now, they're entering this tournament with incredible form. They are great at set pieces as well. They can shock teams. They honestly don't have the best, like, I wouldn't say they have the best quality just like on paper, but the team works so cohesively as a unit. Luis Diaz, Richard Rios, key guys for them. James Rodriguez as well is probably still going to play in the 2026 World Cup. He rose to prominence during the 2014 World Cup, and while he never really got to the potential that one would expect from him at club level, ever since then he has continued to ball up for the national team at major tournaments. So I don't see why he won't do that again. Portugal, I mean, incredible fullbacks, crazy pace. Midfield also very strong. They have Vitinha, João Neves, Rafael Leal, Nuno Mendes. Ronaldo, obviously, is probably going to score a few goals in the group stage because he always does. But the thing with Portugal is they tend to underestimate teams in the group stages. And I think Colombia could be that team. So I actually think Colombia, sneakily, could draw or beat Portugal. And I think they finish first in this group. I just think Colombia is not being given enough stock. I think they are a dark horse. They are seriously a dark horse. Maybe part of that is because I want them to do well, but I think they will do well. I think they will top this group. To be clear, Portugal will have no problems qualifying. They'll win the other 2 games. They're fine. And Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan will beat DR Congo. I think there is a chance they can draw a Portugal or a Colombia because they're a very physical squad. And again, that's like a sort of thing that Portugal might underestimate Uzbekistan for. So if it's 3 or 4 points and they can dog walk, I think, DR Congo, they should be fine. So I think Uzbekistan, another one of the 3rd place teams that I think is going to qualify to the knockouts. Finally, in Group L, we have England, Croatia, Ghana, and Panama. Croatia done very well in World Cups recently. 2018 2nd place, 2022 3rd place. But I think the golden generation is over because all of those key players, the core of that squad, minus Luka Modric, are basically all retired now. They're not a bad squad, but I think the contender days for Croatia are over. The golden generation is gone. They still have a decent midfield. They still have Mateo Kovacic, Luka Modric, so they'll be fine. Like, I think they'll beat Ghana and Panama handily. But England just have too much talent. We should also note, England is sort of like Brazil in that we don't really know how they're going to line up yet. But they just have too much quality. I think you could make a very solid case that they have the most raw quality on paper of any team in the entire world. And they have a manager who, love him or hate him, Thomas Tuchel is a cup manager. So England, I think, is going to win the group. I think Croatia is fine in 2nd. Between Ghana and Panama, I think Panama is going to beat Ghana because they have strong offensive capabilities. They can play physical. I think Ghana's biggest advantage is playing physical, and I think Panama knows how to deal with that because, I mean, shit, that's how all CONCACAF games go. Under Thomas Christensen, Panama have been shockingly consistent at beating the physical sides of CONCACAF, especially for their level of quality. They're shockingly good at it, so I think they can beat Ghana, and that'll get them 3 points. But I don't think they qualify for the round of 32 because they don't know how to park the bus. They don't know how to play more defensive, and we've seen that in recent World Cups. In 2018, that led to them losing to England, I think, 6-1. And I don't think that's going to happen again, but I think we can see similar scorelines where they'll narrowly beat Ghana, because Ghana can still be physical. Ghana's physicality is still going to be a factor. They're still probably going to park the bus. I don't think they're going to score a lot of goals, and they're going to concede a lot of goals to Croatia and England. So the goal differential is going to knock them out of the round of 32. So it's written here. I'm not gonna put the exact order, but again, I think Panama is out. I think how do I edit this? I think Saudi Arabia is out. I think Paraguay. Really unfortunate for Paraguay. I think if they made the knockouts, they could do pretty well, but I think they're out. And I'm saying, who did I say was the other team again? I had, uh, oh, Cote d'Ivoire was my other team that was going out. So those are my four teams going out. The other third place teams are qualifying to round of 32. And, all right, round of 32 time. Let's go. Okay, we start off with Mexico vs UEFA Group A. So my prediction was that it was Italy, and I would say Italy's defense is a weakness, but Mexico's not very good at finishing. Mexico has the physicality, as I said before, but I think they have bad chance creation, and Italy's offense is still quite good. So I think Italy should have no problems beating Mexico. I think we should also note, by the way, this match is going to be at SoFi Stadium because I don't have Mexico finishing first. If Mexico had home advantage in this match, things could drastically change. But given I think they won't, I'm going to give this one to Italy. Next up, Ecuador vs the UEFA B squad. I think I said this was Ukraine. Yes, I said Ukraine over Poland. No matter which team it is, Ecuador's going to beat them. Ecuador are just so good defensively. I don't see whoever that team ends up being scoring a goal on them. And all they need is one goal. This is why Ecuador, I think, can do very well in the knockout stages. All they need is to choke out the other team and get a set piece goal or get just one good opportunity. They don't really have good offense. Just like last time in the World Cup, they're going to be very reliant on Ener Valencia. But that could be enough. As long as they make it to the knockouts, which I think they will, that could be enough. So, yeah, Ecuador, maybe a scrappy 1-0 win. This could even go to extra time. I think they'll get it done, though. Next up, Netherlands vs Morocco. That is quite a match. They're very evenly matched, I would say. They both have strong midfields. Both can be very strong aerially. So, I think based on that fact, I'm probably going to give this to the Netherlands. This is definitely a game where I think Morocco could get an upset. I think if we see Netherlands vs Morocco and they win this game, okay, pay close attention. They could be going for another dark horse run. But I think Netherlands is probably more likely. Then we have Brazil vs Japan. Now, this is very interesting. I think if this game was played today, I think Japan wins. I know, crazy take, sue me. But like I said before, I think Brazil is going to develop an identity by the time they get here. And if they do, and if they can take advantage of their players, Japan doesn't have a prayer, man. They will be probably pressed very highly by Carlo Ancelotti. He loves to do that. They have sort of a World Cup aura, but I think the South American teams are often just a bit of a weakness for the East Asian teams in general. So I'm going to give this one to Brazil. France, Egypt. Okay, France. Yeah, I'm sorry. Like I said before, I don't have a lot of faith in this Egyptian squad. Deschamps is going to figure something out by then. Fair enough. France qualify. Germany, Norway. Okay, I think, like I said before, I don't think Germany are very good at handling physicality. Norway have a ton of physicality. Sorloth, Holland, Larson, Odegaard. And Germany just have not been very good in tournaments as of recent. So, maybe a bit of an upset here. I'm going to say Norway are able to take down Germany. UEFA D spot. This is going to be... That's Denmark. So this is actually a rematch of World Cup qualifiers, where Scotland beat Denmark to qualify, and Denmark are now in the Interconfederational. I think... Well, first off, Scotland won that match, if we're just being honest, because Denmark got a red card. And I think if we're doing an 11v11 here, Denmark plays similar tactically to Scotland, but just because they have a much better midfield, they should be able to grind out a result here. So I'm going to say Denmark are able to beat Scotland. England, Uzbekistan. Man, that's a rough match for Uzbekistan. That's a rough tactical matchup. I think, Uzbekistan, if they're playing someone else, they could have won, but England is just a team that beats down on weaker squads. They can really struggle against the elite teams, but for example, last time around, we saw them 3-0 Senegal, a very solid squad, and I don't know how Tuchel's going to do it. I think he's going to figure out a way. I have no doubt that England can beat Uzbekistan. Next, we have UEFA C. Again, because I don't have Canada winning their group, they're not playing this match in Canada, which would have been a big advantage for them. I have them playing up against UEFA C, which is Turkey, and I think because of that, this is just a really bad matchup for Canada. Canada, like I said before, they're going to struggle to take advantage of chances, and I think that's how you beat Turkey. Their defense is definitely their weak spot. Their goalkeeper Bayendir is not getting a lot of playtime right now at Man United. So I think if we figured out that physicality thing, and especially if this match was in Vancouver, I think Canada could very much win this. But because of that issue right now, I don't see a clear fix for that. I think Turkey are going to probably get more chances. I don't know. I don't think they're going to bully our midfield. I think we have a decent midfield, but they will get more chances, and I think they're going to win. Next up, Belgium via South Korea. I mean, Belgium are like a fraudulent team in my opinion. I keep saying this, but I think they're the lucky draw. South Korea, again, they're just relying on a few players. If people get injured down the stretch, by the way, that would be a huge loss for South Korea. I think Belgium gets us enough to get it done here. And then Portugal vs Croatia. Um, like I said before, I think Croatia's true contender days are sort of over. Their golden generation is finished. And Portugal are like a new guard team. They're young. They have pace. I'm thinking of the Nuno Mendes, the um, the Rafael Leao's. I just don't really see how Croatia can deal with that with their aging roster. So I think Portugal should be able to get a win here as well. Spain vs Austria. Not much to say here. Spain is easily going to beat Austria. Austria, I think, are the weakest pot two team, or at least one of the weakest pot two teams. Spain are our favorite. They're going to run them off the pitch in the midfield. Switzerland vs Algeria, though. This is interesting. Um, what I will say is Switzerland have like this divine intervention that basically makes sure that they always finish in the round of 16 in every tournament that they're in. I think Algeria on paper could do well against them because they have such a strong offense, and Switzerland's defense can be problematic at times. But I think that divine intervention is going to carry Switzerland through. No logic to this one. I just think Jordan Shaqiri for a while was like the one guy for Switzerland who just like randomly show up during tournaments. He's probably not going to be here, so I think that's going to be Grant Xhaka now. But someone's just going to clutch up for them. Someone's going to help them get like a 1-0, 2-0 win here. Switzerland, I think, to beat Algeria. Next up, Argentina vs Uruguay, a South American heavyweight clash. But again, first off, I think Argentina are better on paper anyways. They're defending World Cup champions for a reason. And like I said, Uruguay is not playing up to standard right now. And if that doesn't get fixed soon, I don't see a way they can possibly beat Argentina. Especially because, notice, this game is at Miami. And listen, that basically makes it a home game for Argentina, if we're just being honest. So Argentina easily to beat Uruguay here. Colombia Senegal, a very interesting matchup. I think Senegal can do something. Again, like this is a sort of like I'll wait for AFCON, I'll see what happens, we'll reassess then. But Colombia, like I said, they're a dark horse. I'm gonna back them. I think they beat Senegal here. And finally, man, if this is a matchup we see in the round of 32, America vs Iran. Wow. I'm not gonna get into why that's a crazy match, but I'm sure you know. Listen. First off, if the America managed to get Iran here, that is extremely lucky. That is like a very blessed matchup to have because I don't have them winning their group. If they finish second and play Iran, that's incredibly lucky for the US. That's an incredibly lucky draw. I think Iran, like I said before, they're getting up there in age. They're not very good at dealing with fluid, fast offenses, and that's the style that Pochettino is playing. Attacking fullbacks, very fluid football. I think the USA will get it done against Iran. They did beat them in the last World Cup as well, so I think the US. I mean, it's interesting because I think the US is actually the weakest of the three host nations, but because of how the draw plays out, they're the only one I have making it to the round of 16. It is what it is. Into the round of 16 though. First off, Ecuador vs France. Now, again, this is a match where I think if it were played right now, Ecuador wins. Because France don't have an attacking identity. If they do figure it out, they're going to be... I think they could get cooked in the midfield by Ecuador. But Didier Deschamps is going to find a way. He's going to find an identity. I think they're going to make it through. Yeah. Again, I could very well change my prediction here. I think there is a chance Ecuador does make it to the semifinals. But as of today, I'm going to say France does win this matchup. We have two intercontinental spots in the round of 16, right? No, three intercontinental teams, or three European playoff teams in the round of 16 here. The first one, UEFA A, is. Hang on, I should have some notes here. That's Italy, right? I think this is the end of the line for Italy. I think they're like pretty lucky to even be here, to be honest. Their defense obviously is a big concern. I think the Netherlands are a very good team and they will be able to capitalize on that. So I think that's the end of the line for Italy. Netherlands should be able to get it done here. Brazil vs Norway. That is an interesting matchup. I have Brazil winning this. Again, this makes the assumption that Carlo Ancelotti is going to figure things out, but I think he will. So end of the line for Norway. Round of 16 on your first World Cup back is nothing too shabby for Norway, but I think that's about as far as they will go. Next up, we have UEFA D vs England. I think that's England against Denmark. This is a tough match for Denmark because their strategy is to win in the midfield, and I think England is one of the few teams that have a clearly better midfield than Denmark. And so, again, we don't know how Tuchel's going to play. And see, this is the issue with making too early predictions. But like, there's just so much up in the air. But surely England finds a way against Denmark. Surely, I'm going to say England are able to get the win here. Next up, that is a crazy round of 16 matchup if that happens. They made like the seeding thing to prevent this from happening, but lo and behold, we have Spain vs Portugal in the round of 16. I think that was because they had Portugal finishing second in the group, behind Colombia. So fair enough. But I know Portugal did beat Spain and won the Nations League off of that, but Spain did play better in that match, and I think they'll do better in the World Cup because Portugal don't really have an identity yet, and I don't really have a lot of faith in their manager. So unlike a Thomas Tuchel, a Deschamps, an Ancelotti, I don't think they're going to figure it out. And if they can't do that, Spain's going to just dominate them. But as good as Portugal's midfield is, Spain is one of the few teams that has a better one. Spain might be the only team that has a clearly better midfield than Portugal, to be honest. And if that's the case, like maybe we get a Ronaldo masterclass. You never know, but I just don't see it. I think Spain's going to win this match. Next up, we have UEFA C against Belgium. That is Turkey against Belgium. And with all the crap we talked about Belgium in this video, it would be crazy double standard for me to have them winning this match. So I think by default, I have to give it to Turkey. Turkey, I think, have a better midfield. Obviously, Belgium have De Bruyne, but other than that, it's not great down there. Turkey will probably get more chances. I think they will win the match. And yeah, Turkey to the quarterfinals on their first World Cup in a while. Very interesting, but there we go. I don't think that's too crazy. We have Argentina vs USA. Yeah, okay, nothing to be said here. That's another line for US. Come on. And Switzerland vs Colombia. Now, as I said, Switzerland have the divine intervention to make sure they make it to round 16, but they haven't really gone beyond that recently. So I would say Colombia, they're on better form. They're a dark horse for me. James Rodriguez might single-handedly seal them for this match. I think this is the end of the line for Switzerland. I think Colombia are just a better team. I think they should be able to get a win here. And that brings us to the quarterfinals. I'm on 43 minutes. I need to lock in here. We're just gonna maybe speedrun for the rest of these. See, again, like, I think Didier Deschamps is going to figure things out. If he does, France will beat the Netherlands. Spain against Turkey, probably the end of the line for Turkey, because, again, like, if you're a team that relies on a good midfield, it's kind of over once you play Spain, right? So, yeah, I just don't see how Turkey is going to be able to beat them. Brazil, England, these are two squads who I have no idea how they're going to line up for this hypothetical match in the World Cup. I'm going to give it to England just because, one, Tuchel is a cup manager, and two, England have been better in tournaments recently. Even when they're not playing well, they tend to find a way to go pretty far, and Brazil have not made it past a quarterfinal in the World Cup since, like, I don't know how long. Definitely not this generation, so yeah, I'm going to give this one to England. Yeah, last time was 2014, so yeah. And then Argentina-Colombia, that is a rematch of the Copa America finals. I have Colombia down as a dark horse, but I just think Argentina are a better squad. As of today, they have the experience. They have the physicality to take down Colombia. They have the aggression. But they're basically like villains. That's sort of the way they're going to play here. I think they do get the win against Colombia. Okay, semifinals. France v Spain. Rematch of the Nations League semifinals. I'm going to give this one to Spain. Because, again, France have the dilemma. Either they have to figure out a striker focal point, or they play a 4-2-4, in which case Spain will overrun them in the midfield again. if Deschamps does find a way, this will still be a very competitive match. I just think Spain have more quality right now. The midfield is just so incredible. They're very solid defensively as well. I think Spain are just a better squad. I think they're going to beat France as of today. And then England v Argentina. Like, this is where, once England faces an elite side, they always choke. I know Thomas Tuchel is probably going to help them a little bit with that. But again, I need to see him develop a full identity before I can say they're better than the reigning World Cup champions. So Argentina is going back to the finals. I can't make a prediction on the third place match here, but it would be France vs England. And just because of history, I think France is probably the more likely team to win there. But again, like, two teams, another like tactical, we don't really know what's going to happen. And yeah, that brings us to the finals. Argentina, led by Messi, somehow still at the age of, I don't know, like 94 or whatever, against the new guard, Spain, Lamine Yamal, 18 years old. True generation battle. If Argentina wins this match and wins the World Cup, that is 2021 Copa America, 2022 World Cup, 2024 Copa America, 2026 World Cup. That is a generational, half-decade long run that I think makes Argentina a very decent shout for not just the best team in the world, but the best team of all time. That cements Messi as the GOAT, but I don't see it. I think we're going to have a new guard here. I think there's going to be a new generation. I think Spain just have a better team, and they're going to win the 2026 World Cup. As of now, that is my prediction. There we go. That is, I guess, the bracket, at least from the round of 16. I don't like the fact that they just use the EU flag for European squads. I wish they would have let me, like, actually pick the team I had going through, so it's not super clear what's going on. But yeah, I think Spain are the champions. Not exactly a scorcher of a take here, but again, like, give me time. We'll make more videos about the World Cup, obviously, when we get closer and we have a better picture of how teams are lining up. But yeah, that's it for now. If you enjoyed the video, if you learned something, which, not to brag, you probably did, because I doubt you guys all know as much about every continent as I think I do. Maybe I'm a fraud, as much as I think I do. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say for this one. This video, it's not too bad. It's pretty long. It's longer than I would have liked. But yeah, that's my prediction. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Thank you for watching, guys.